Our conventional understanding of knowledge is under attack. But Ada, who would do something like this? It is none other than the cynic. Cynics, in their twisted minds, believe that knowledge is not related to truth. They think that the opinions of the weak are merely beliefs, while the opinions of the powerful count as knowledge. Well, as the resident anti-cynics warrior, it is my responsibility to debunk this to save democracy, the United States of America, and ultimately bring about world peace. So you think that you know what knowledge is? Well, if you're watching this video, chances are that you probably have never even thought about it. But don't worry, let me take your hand and let's embark on this journey together. The first stop on our journey will be an example of the conventional approach to knowledge. And I had picked a truly beautiful example to illustrate this. However, my focus group told me that it was bland and that they would instantly click away if I delivered it. So I had to replace it. Instead, we have a vulgar example now. Imagine that you're in a high-stress situation because you're waiting for your COVID test result. You want to go to your cousin's birthday party where your crush will be. You don't even care if you have COVID or not. All it comes down to is if the result is negative. If it's positive, you'll spend the evening all alone. If it's negative, you'll get the chance to flirt with your crush. You're impatiently awaiting the test result, your foot tapping nervously. Finally, a professional-looking person enters and hands you over a folded piece of paper. Will it be negative? Or will you be cock-blocked yet again? But the piece of paper doesn't care. Or, as one of the most prolific poets of our generation put it, facts don't care about your feelings. You can delude yourself into believing that you'll get to hang out with your crush. But as long as you haven't checked the result, you don't really know that. The actual result on the paper, that's what we call a cold hard fact. No amount of praying will transform it into something that you want it to be. Now you unfold the paper and look at it. You're becoming aware of the test result. And yes, it's negative. This, being aware of a fact, is an example of knowing, at least according to the conventional take on knowledge. Now imagine that you lose the paper. It's burned, destroyed. The server holding a copy of the results hacked. The data deleted. To top it off, your cousin pranks you by hitting your head with a frying pan, which makes you forget the result. Well, the fact that the result came back negative remains. The knowledge, however, is lost, because there's no longer anyone to remember it. And that's one way to distinguish those concepts. Knowledge can be lost. The facts remain. There are three things that I want you to take away from this example. First, knowledge is not to be confused with facts. Those are two very different things. Second, what even is a fact? A fact is a true statement about the world, and it does not rely on anyone being aware of it. Third, knowledge only exists as long as someone knows it. This way of thinking about knowledge relies on certain simplifications. My focus group was confused when I tried to go into the nuances, and as I want to be respectful of your poor attention span, I'm willing to concede this, so let's move on. To make life easier for now, I will define knowledge as the relationship between a neurotypical adult and a fact. We'll think of facts as true statements about the world. So is there any difference between knowing something and just believing something? Of course, when you look at the conventional understanding of knowledge, the answer is clearly yes. You can believe any number of things, and your beliefs can be wrong or right or neither. Knowledge, on the other hand, is related to the real world. So you can only know facts. Otherwise, you're simply mistaken. You might think that you know something without actually knowing it. The cynical theory, on the other hand, states that there's barely a difference. Knowledge is just some belief that's backed up by power and status. The slogan of the cynics is, "History is written by the winners." This approach to knowledge is more a statement about society, or how cynics see society at least. In its extreme forms, the cynical theory disregards the claim that knowledge has a connection to facts at all. The beliefs of the powerless are mere opinions. The beliefs of the powerful are knowledge. But I am not here to completely dunk on the cynics. No, I have to say that there's some plausibility to the cynical theory. I mean, it's not implausible that knowledge does relate to power somehow. I can imagine that being in positions of power can make it much easier to acquire knowledge. And, of course, Being knowledgeable in certain domains can help you gain power. We also shouldn't discount that being powerful, having a high status and a good reputation will lead to people taking your opinions much more readily as knowledge. So how is the cynical theory lacking? Well, it doesn't acknowledge that people can resist the opinions of more powerful groups and individuals. Authority is not always challenged, but there are many precedents of people contesting the beliefs of more powerful groups. One example is the mighty Catholic Church battling with natural philosophers over one question: does the sun orbit the earth? The Church vehemently defended the position that the earth was stationary, with the sun orbiting it. Some natural philosophers, like Nicolaus Copernicus and Galileo Galilei, concluded that it had to be the other way around. Even though the Catholic Church prohibited the heliocentric model and persecuted its defenders, eventually it lost. Copernicus and Galileo won in the end. Examples like these raise some reasonable doubt about how valid the extreme versions of the cynical theory are. There's one argument that makes me believe that the conventional understanding of knowledge is superior. Just ask yourself, is it simply coincidence that modern technology is capable of more and more astonishing feats? Have the opinions of the powerful led us accidentally to electricity, heart transplants, and nuclear bombs? Or did we get here because we developed a better understanding of nature? I do agree somewhat with the cynical take. Opinions and beliefs of powerful people probably are much more influential than average Joes. But I don't think that knowledge is equal to the beliefs of the powerful. To me, it's much more plausible that having knowledge is equal to a closer relationship to facts. And having a closer connection to facts will lead to more control over the world. So ultimately, I think the cynics got it the wrong way around. In the long run, access to more knowledge leads to more power.